Okay, hello everybody, and welcome
Hello.
to Data Team Meeting number 4. Thank you for making it to this meeting. I have an agenda that I've given you to look at. If you don't mind, we'll just go over the agenda and then start with the first item. Data Team Meeting number 4, just want to review the Action Research Collaborative Database Inquiry process and where we are in this process. And then briefly review our verified root cause that we came up with at the last meeting. And then the main point of this meeting, the main purpose of this meeting is to introduce or suggest solutions and come up with a solution or two as instructional strategies to implement in the fall. And the last thing is a survey that I need you all to fill out for me for my class, the practical class that I'm taking. So if we take a look at the Using Data Process graphic organizer, we are at the solutions part, generate solutions. And some of y'all maybe hopefully had an opportunity to do some data research as far as looking at instructional strategies or things that you would like for us to do to address the student learning problem, and that root cause would be test taking strategies. You can say it several ways: test taking strategies or literacy strategies, specifically context clues. That's the way I take it. But I just remembered something. I was wondering if I could assign a couple roles. One would be a note taker, and another one would be a timekeeper. So would anybody? You'll do the time? Okay, and is there anybody that could take notes? Okay, and then I'll be taking notes as well. That way, if I miss anything, you get it too. Thank you, Ms. Bachelor. And so, 150 probably a pretty good time to let me know.
Just keep
So
on
that's what I
track.
mean is, yeah, and so I might do a time check just to see what
Okay.
time it is. Okay,
Okay.
great, thank you very much. But we are, I think we agreed at the last meeting that it's test-taking strategies or literacy strategies or context clues. And it was a great meeting as far as collaboration was concerned. Even though you weren't here, Ms. Camp, we were able to take your feedback. Everybody was saying the same thing. And Ms. Ross couldn't make it as well, and she gave feedback, and we went over that in the data team meeting, and everybody was saying the same thing. That these two questions, the question that covered the social studies TEK and the question that covered the reading TEK, dealt with the student not being able to understand what he or she is reading when doing so on the test question, or not being able to utilize context clues as well, or possibly just being lazy, because one of the questions was just right there for you. And so if you don't mind, if you don't mind, I'll introduce a couple of mine. Now this is not my field of study. It is your field. You've taught reading as well. You've taught reading as well. And you know, you guys have worked with these type of issues with certain subpopulations. But so you'll have to go easy on me because some of the terminology, you know, I may not be the greatest on. But I do want to point out one thing about the last meeting that I thought was great, was how we were able to look at the data and rule out one of the possible root causes was the subpopulations of Hispanics and economically disadvantaged students. And by looking at the disaggregated data, we noticed that it, in fact, was not those two subpopulations that were missing this question. It was the white students. And so the gap was not due to economically disadvantaged nor Hispanics, because, well, we're going to go ahead and move forward, but maybe economically disadvantaged possibly, but I thought that we looked at that and maybe disaggregated that as well. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not, we ruled out several root causes, and we came down to the root cause of the literacy strategies. And these weren't just us talking, it was data-based. We looked at the data at the last meeting. Okay, so I wanted to show you two of my instructional strategies that I suggest. And, okay, so bear with me here, please, because I think that reading is very interesting, but I've never taught it before. But, the one that I was looking at was something called a magnet words, or magnet summaries. And I have a handout, it's 2 pages for each of you. and it just kind of goes over what, they're calling them magnet summaries. And then here's one for you.
Oh.
And then, I apologize, and then if you'll pass it to your right, yep, there you go. And everybody's got one, okay, great. Magnet summaries. I'm not gonna go over the handout, but I will show you in a simple form how I interpret the magnet summary technique. So if we take question number 42 from the social studies question that's in question, that experienced that had the largest gap, you want, the reader needs to find the word that they think is the most important word in the selection. And a lot of times this might be a reading excerpt or a piece of information. In this case, it's a test question. And so you want to find that word that's the most important and circle it. And I'm going to say embargo. And then the reader is to think of that word as like a magnet and what other words attract to that word. So I guess what I would say is like it's the words that have to do with that word or connect to that word or would be attracted, what the reader associates with that word. And like we talked about at the last meeting, you know, the answer is this one right here. And we're assuming that the student knows what embargo means because they all do know what that means because I teach all the 8th graders and I continuously go, what's an embargo? Or I might say, ban on all trade. And so we're assuming the reader knows the definition of embargo, but can connect that there's words that attract to that word like a magnet. And so, you know, through the, through some type of process, I don't understand it completely, you were hoping the reader is going to have these words attracted to it. With knowing the definition and being able to associate, if that's the right terminology, those words to the magnet word. And that's one strategy that I have. If anybody wants to expound on that, maybe you're familiar with this strategy, you can explain it better than me. But this one that I kept noticing that a lot of the teachers in this profession, in this subject content area, love to teach. Anybody?
Well, the definition is in the answer.
Right.
Which is what you were saying.
What you're looking for.
So like the other day, I mean, if I was gonna teach this, like the other day, how you said, yeah, I would have them circle it, and then I would have them write up there what you teach them that means.
Right, right.
And then, when they're looking right at it, and they ought to be able to eliminate some answer choices just like that.
That's right, and the way that
That's the way I would teach it,
right,
yeah.
yes, well, and the way that Ms. Baxter worded that was, what are they checking that I know?
Right.
What the person reading is saying, what is the test maker
They're just
checking?
checking, you know what an embargo is.
What do they ask?
Mhm. So I guess the magnet system is,
It does correlate.
Mhm.
okay. All right, so that's one, guys. Another one would be building academic vocabulary. Because, the more academic words you know in that field, whether it's social studies, mathematics, or science, the better you'll be able to apply this magnet strategy. So, give me just 1 second. Well, so it's basically though, it's going to be instructional strategies on building academic vocabulary, as many as we can, with examples like word walls, I think is what they call them, word walls, and word notebooks. And so that was another one. So it's kind of a combination of building the academic vocabulary, and then the student can apply this magnet summary strategy. And then the last one I have is anchor charts, which I'm learning about anchor charts. Pretty neat. I think reading teachers at the elementary level use this a lot. And so when I went to the anchor charts and learned about that as far as teaching context clues, the main concepts I came up with, or the reoccurring concepts, was paying attention to synonyms and antonyms, looking for example or definitions, read around the words for clues, which will be a context. That's the one I guess we ought, like as a reader, I do that naturally. I don't see myself, I'd have to be taught these, I think. And then using helping words like, or, as, is called, also known as, and then using picture clues. So I have to give a shout out to our student that did this. I won't say the student's name out loud.
It doesn't really look like it.
Yeah, that's not, yeah. Yes, you. Yeah, one of our seventh grade students did this, and she did a great job.
She did.
She really did. Yeah, this is not mine, definitely. But anyway, so anchor charts, teaching these synonyms, antonyms, examples or definitions, read around the word for clues, using helping words, and using picture clues. Those are the three instructional strategies that I suggest. But again, I'm not the expert in this field, so if there's any others that are out there that y'all might have come across or were able to research up, if anybody wants to present what they have.
Okay, so you told me to come up with some things for context clues, and so I did. Well, I didn't realize that you would have the same,
I was hoping this would happen, because I'm doing a good
the
job.
same type of thing.
The same thing.
Good,
But
good.
I have, I guess the only thing that's not on there, it's got synonyms and antonyms. It also has a positive and a direct definition, and they just do, I guess, like I say, it's not exactly the same, but it's along the same lines.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that, ma'am.
Okay,
So,
I'm
okay.
sorry, I didn't make a copy for
So
everyone.
I have a question. The word, the terminology anchor chart, is that just this piece of paper with stuff on it? And then the anchor chart teaches the stuff?
When you put it in one place in the room, they get used to looking at it in that one place. And when you cover it up for the STAR test, they can still look at it and remember those things.
Remember what it is.
Oh, okay, okay.
Kind of like I told you about that timeline, the
Yeah.
color-coded timeline in my
Yes.
friend's room.
Yes.
She teaches history. It's
They'll
color-coded.
look up at that picture.
They will look up and know.
Oh, yes, so that's like this,
this
when
was
all this
that.
comes down,
Mhm.
they will look up.
Yeah, they know.
That's what anchor chart is. It's being in one place in the room, anchored there. Okay, okay, I just realized that. So what we're saying is, it's an anchor chart that's teaching these strategies. Okay, and so, you just had a couple of extra ones that would be added to the anchor chart. Okay, so then, so far,
I guess it just steps it up a little bit, where you can go into some other things, the positives and stuff like that, where they can use it later on, but like I say, it's basically the same thing, it just steps it up a little bit.
yes ma'am, yes ma'am. Anybody else?
Well, okay, I'm gonna say this, maybe this doesn't sound right to say this, but I'm gonna say this. You got that, you can put that on the wall anywhere you want to, but you're still gonna have to take, you're gonna have to take test questions and do this with them repetitively.
Okay.
So that they get used to answering questions like that. You can't just expect them to
Yeah.
do that. You're gonna have to do that with them,
So I
like
was thinking like a bell
take
ringer.
questions.
Because,
Yes.
because as far as social studies is concerned, we can't spend a whole lot of time
No,
on this.
but like a bell ringer, yes, and then teach them how to do those strategies
Okay.
on their questions.
Yes,
Does that
ma'am.
make
This really happens, it kind of depends on when you find out that they did not answer that question well. If it's a benchmark and the test is soon, then I would focus on magnet summaries.
Yeah.
If you start out the year, then, I mean, obviously this is part of what you're gonna teach anyway, but I would focus more on that to get them used to looking for context clues. Because like the English question, I would tell my kids to get an idea based on context clues, but I would never say, I told them you have no excuse to miss a dictionary question. Those are easy, that there's no reason
Yeah.
whatsoever. Yeah, all the English
Exactly.
people are, yes, yes.
And there's 7 to 10
It's
on
so
every,
easy, yes.
on every test,
Mhm.
is what I was told, at a workshop over and over again. And, you know, those are things they can go to. They have it right there in front of them, and that no kid in the state of Texas should miss a definition question.
Based question.
Because they've had the anchor chart technique?
No, because you
No,
don't.
because they
the dictionary.
weren't
Don't make that
used to
harder.
dictionaries.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You know I
Yeah,
heard on the dictionary.
She
But-
does,
But
and they don't even wanna get it half the time.
Because they wanna look it
just-
up on the computer and I'm not about
She don't
that.
let them use the computer for
They
that.
will have that next year.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
can type it in and boom.
Yes.
you
Yeah.
can-
So if they don't
Yeah.
know the base word or the root word,
Right.
or
They have
they
to go
don't
back
know,
to the root word.
or if they don't know a synonym or an antonym, they can look it up in
Oh,
the
right,
dictionary.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
there's
I
no
said that too,
reason
yeah.
for them to miss something like that.
Or if you
Right.
forget what synonym means.
Well,
Yeah,
and so,
I totally
and
get
so,
that.
you know, but I mean, as far as the social studies test, do they get a dictionary to take that?
I'm not sure about the online version, but no, on the paper version, no.
Okay.
But
That's
you
why
said,
I
you
tried
said,
to
the
do it
reason I'm
online.
saying the magnet summaries is because you said they did know what the word meant, but they lost it in trying to find the right answer. So that's why I would circle the word, define it, so that they have, that is their anchor. Embargo is blank. And then I look through the questions, I look back at my, so that's my anchor, is what I wrote, my definition.
Okay.
So they just get used to doing that, they get used to circling that word and writing what you've taught them.
Right,
Because you teach them all kinds of little
Yeah.
tricky
Memory
things.
tricks,
So
memory.
anytime they see a question that has to do with that, they should write that on their paper.
You
That would be
model-
my
you model
suggestion.
all
If
the
it's a
time.
question that has to
Okay.
do with that,
Okay.
write what you
I
told
call,
them.
what do I call those? I call
You
those,
don't call it modeling, but you do it all the time.
Yes.
I
Oh,
watch
yes.
your class.
But he
Yeah.
does little,
memory tricks, but
what
I
do
call
you
something
call
different.
them? Yeah, I can't think of it. I can't even think of it.
One-liners and, I can't think of
But
the
when they
term.
see
Yeah,
a
yeah.
question that has something to do with one of those, they should write that on that question.
Memorization tool is what I call it. But yeah, write
You know what I
down
mean?
on the, yeah, write it down to help them recall.
I mean, part of being a good reader is writing while you're going, little summaries of paragraphs as you
Yeah.
go, if you lose track. And then just reminding yourself of what do I know?
Yeah, I do that.
And because, like in biology, doing that so much, recognizing, I know what they're gonna ask me based on when they give me this kind of info, makes them a really smart test taker.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and I've noticed
A
this,
lot of our kids' problems, they don't know how to take
It
tests.
is.
and student, well, a lot
They
of,
don't know what they're being asked.
Right, I think that's
They
way
get lost in
the
all
most
the
of the
lost.
problem. So I think that doing a question a day or 2 questions a day as a bell ringer is a good idea.
Yeah,
Don't
yes,
you? I mean,
yes.
and you start at the beginning of
Right,
the year.
right.
Yeah,
yes.
so we're back to test taking strategies.
I know,
More
that's,
I mean, we do this stuff anyway, you know?
so then, test-taking strategies, so then,
Of
I guess
what you
what,
presented, I think magnet summaries fits what we're looking for the most,
okay,
in my opinion.
I see what you're saying. I mean, a magnet summary is a test-taking strategy. Instead of teaching them these things, they've already got that, or,
You said they knew it, right, that's what I
Right.
just keep remembering, you said they knew it, so then I'm like, well, why didn't they get it, if they knew it? So we have to figure out why,
Yes, ma'am.
why they were lost.
well, so magnet summary, and it can be done as a bell ringer at certain points in time. That sounds like, I mean, is that what we think, we're gonna say that's the solution? For this particular, because it's not like they are,
Yes, because it fits both of your problems.
I
In my
agree,
opinion,
I
it fits
agree.
both of your problems.
It does.
can
And
you?
hallelujah, if you.
Just start
Can
from
you,
the beginning of the
can
year.
you, I wanna write that down, if it's both their problems.
Well, one problem was, it was asking about the word in context, but really, if you're used to knowing what they're checking, you just know to be a good test taker and like, I'm just gonna look that up. I'm not gonna kill myself and wear myself out looking for, I know they're supposed to know how to use context clues,
Yeah.
but if they're in the middle of a test and they're tired, and
Mhm.
then let's do the smart thing, grab the dictionary and move on, which is what you're doing with your magnet.
Okay,
I have one question. In paragraph 6, the word prevalent means, the first thing I'm gonna do is look for the definition.
mhm.
And that's what that is, embargo. Definition of embargo. Definition of prevalent. Widespread in a particular area. Widespread is the answer for it.
So, I
I
mean,
mean,
I
it's
don't
just-
understand, I mean, that seems like that's probably the easiest question on the test,
I
and
don't
yet it seemed,
understand why they
it
missed
received
that.
the largest
That
gap.
really-
Well, that's what we're saying, especially when we figured out the other day that it wasn't our
Yeah.
Hispanic
Yes,
kids
it
or
was
our,
everybody.
it was everybody,
Which
so
means
it's a
it's
test taking,
instructional strategy,
yeah.
yes.
Okay. All right, well then we got something to go with. So then that was pretty good. So we're all in consensus that the strategy we want to initiate
Universally.
universally with both teams will be a magnet summary, magnet words technique used as a bell ringer or a closing task at certain points throughout the semester. Also, I want to also point out that, I liked how Another one that we thought might be a root cause, or I was thinking would be, but really, it's already been, gonna be addressed, and that was scope and sequence. I mean, I know this is kind of beside the point, because it really didn't have anything to do with the TEKA, it was a testing it was the students' lack of test-taking strategies, but in my mind, I kept wanting to think it was a scope and sequence. But what's nice is, even if that would have been the root cause, that's already taken care of, because we're doing DMAC, and so we're all, we're doing Texas Resource, so we're gonna be able to have a scope and sequence, so we don't have to worry about that, it's gonna be there for us. But, okay, so then, this is our last meeting for the semester, and what we'll do is start working on, I guess we need to start looking at whether we're gonna do like some type of professional development to the teachers that will be teaching this next fall and spring, and how that professional development will look in teaching magnet summary, test-taking strategies. So, but really, that was what we were trying to do today, was come down with that solution, and we've got it. So, at the end of this summer, when we get back together, coming into the fall, we'll start looking at how we're going to implement that, how we're going to get the teachers trained up, and how we're going to, and how often, and when it's going to happen. And we'll actually have like a calendar type thing showing when it's called a logic model, and we'll show how it's going to be implemented. And then, I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but Mr. Ross, I was thinking that when we are implementing this, if you could observe and monitor that, because you do a lot of that with your job description anyway, and you could be observing that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that brings us to the last part of the agenda item, and that is the survey. I'm going to pass the survey out, and then I'm going to find the survey, and then I'm going to pass it out. There it is. And we need to just kind of look at it for a minute, and you can fill it out. Does anybody need a pen?
We have to have a pen?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
There's one.
I just brought a pencil.
Okay. And how are we doing on time, Ms. Radford?
It's 1:47.
47?
Yes.
So I'll pass this out, and if you get to the survey and some of the terminology is not making sense to you, I think that there's some of the stuff that we haven't gotten to yet, so you can, I guess, rate it not true. Number one, as you'll see, is true, and number one is very true, number two is true, number three is somewhat true.
It's two pages.
There's 2 pages.
Oh, wait a minute.
There's 2 pages.
I gave up one of mine, my bad, I'm sorry. Gotcha.
Yes, ma'am. It's okay.
One is very true, 2 is, okay, somewhat, okay. Just put a check inside the box.
So if you'll circle it.
Circle it?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I didn't read my directions. And I get on to those kids all
It's
the
10 points
time.
off.
I know. I didn't read my directions, I'm sorry. Huh?
I'm doing this.
I was wanting to make 4 most true.
Me too,
And
so I'm having to
to
look.
reverse it.
It's not, 4 is not true.
Right.
And I put, we didn't read. Oh, you,
Remember,
I put-
sometimes disagree about, Desiree.
well, we did
Well,
disagree?
He thought that scope and sequence was more, and so we had to.
Oh, well, I
Yeah,
wasn't
we
here
did-
last meeting.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, well, we did, but we,
Oh, Well, I did.
We
put-
had about four or five root causes,
Mhm.
and we came down to one. And I always kept thinking scope and sequence,
Why did you think scope and sequence?
because I feel like as a teacher, I'm not real systematic in how often and to what depth I deliver my teaks. But, you know, I mean, that, you're right, that it wasn't really the teak, it's not the knowledge of the teak, it's how to interpret the question, what they're asking.
My only thought was how deeply they might be looking at what embargo means. Like, I thought that might be what you meant by the scope of it. That you might know what embargo means, the definition, but what does that look like?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like, if we look at the teak, which if we look at the teak, the wording of the teak, the scope and sequence can, there's like, I guess I'd say levels of depth of knowledge of the teak. So, because if you look at the teak, it doesn't say embargo. Embargo is a part of the teak, but you're right, it's really about so it's really not the teak that they're missing, it seems to be in that question, it's they don't associate how to connect it. This is what embargo means, I know what embargo means, but that's what it's saying, making the connection. It really wasn't about the teak, it was about them not being able to connect the definition. Yes, ma'am, and so,
I agree, which is
so
where
what
led
we're-
us to where we were.
yes, ma'am, I thought that's what made the last meeting so productive, is we were able to get it down to one, because really, all of y'all were saying the same thing. Even you, Miss Camp, you know, with your feedback, and Miss Ross's, she was saying the same thing, and everybody was saying the same thing.
Right, this one is.
The second page is a little tough.
That's
Yes,
what-
ma'am, so if there's some terminology that you don't understand, then
Well,
just put not true,
Not
because there's some,
terminology,
okay,
But like that, we're all coming from kind of different directions, and it's our content area. We had multiple content areas.
I just put something true.
Yeah.
I don't know, that was just where I